Welcome, my disciples, to episode 2 of Wrestling with the Guru. I am your host, the Guru of Wrestling, your spiritual guide to all things in professional wrestling. Here on this episode, we're going to talk about ROADBLOCK main event, the WWE ROADBLOCK main event, and how I would book that main event. We're going to discuss tribute to the troops, and we're going to give a brief review of Matt Hardy's total nonstop deletion spectacular last night. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's get to these programs. Tribute to the Troops was an inter-brand event, both SmackDown and Raw. I believe that it's important to discuss this because it highlights the potential of Roman Reigns and the Universal Champion Kevin Owens. The show started with Roman Reigns giving a promo how proud that he was to be the United States Champion. This is probably the strongest crowd reaction that I have seen of Roman Reigns. There was very few boos, and it seemed he had a nice crowd response. Kevin Owens came out, interrupted Roman Reigns, and he got good heat when he said that he was Canadian and that he didn't understand the whole United States thing. And it set up a good storyline for the main event that evening. Then Rusev and Cass come out. They interacted, pushing forward the storyline, and so we have the main event of Owens and Rusev versus Reigns and Cass. It wasn't stagnant like a lot of Raws have been in the past. There wasn't a lot of unnecessary, what I would term garbage, between the different characters, but it got to the two main characters of the evening, Reigns and Owens, and them squaring off in a tag match. Next, there was and I'm going to discuss the different things that went on. Next, there was a tag match to determine the number one contender. I believe in my predictions, I said it was going to be a triple threat, but they changed that, and now it's going to be a single tag match, and Sheamus and Cesaro won. I wish it was going to be the club, because I believe the club deserves that. But Cesaro and Sheamus won, and I will go ahead and I will say that I predict them to win the tag team championship come at ROADBLOCK. Next matches that happened, I'm not going to go into very much depth on them. The Miz goes over Apollo Crews. It was good to see Apollo Crews actually on TV having a match. He is another talent that he has been mismanaged on SmackDown. The guy has tremendous talent, and he should. I hope that they use him coming in the coming weeks. The Wyatts go over American Alpha, who was with Dolph Ziggler. The Wyatts go over, they look strong, and who can say anything bad about the Wyatts right now? It's great that they're the tag team champions in Raw. Hope that they continue, and it sets up a storyline for Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Bayley goes over Dana Brooke, and I look for Bayley to win at ROADBLOCK, as I said. Backstage, there was a pretty interesting promo between three different groups, three different factions on Raw. The club united back with AJ Styles in a promo. The New Day was there, saying they were the greatest group. The club came in. Then the Shield come in. The club said that they had worldwide fame. They had wrestled all over the world, saying that pointing toward how big they were in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Shield a little bit dissed them a little bit and said they wasn't the greatest, that the Shield was the greatest. I believe this was a little bit of knock from the WWE over, anything that they had accomplished in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and New Japan Pro Wrestling is as big in Japan as it is the WWE. It is the thing. The club was huge. It's sad how Gallows and Anderson has been delegated to jobbers on Raw. Not that I want really to knock the New Day. The New Day is great. I'm glad that they broke the record, but it's sad that the writing on Raw did not make the club strong through this year. During the main event, we'll go to the main event of the evening. Owens and Rusev versus Reigns and Cass. It was a really good match. I really want to focus on that. I think Owens' character came out more in this match than we have seen in the previous weeks. He began to trash talk, began to bully Reigns in the ring, which was great. The story between him and Reigns in this match proves that it's not really a criticism, that the criticism that's out there is not really with these guys, but is how these guys have been used and how creative has used these guys, that these guys are very talented. Though I did not like the fact again that Owens was pinned cleanly before the pay-per-view, making Reigns be this monster that he is. Hope that it doesn't go this way at ROADBLOCK. I hope they add some spice to this. Though I have, really no knowledge of the backstage atmosphere, I would say this, that if this was Stone Cold or if this was The Rock, they would have been demanding Vince that they not look so weak as the champion. Though the friendship of Owens and Jericho has been great, the standalone character of Owens has been stagnant at best through his reign as champion. There were too many run-ins during his stint by Jericho during Owens' reign. There's multiple ways for a heel to get heat to go over, and they have not utilized that. Owens is never going to be the monster dominating heel, but he could have developed his own persona and doing whatever it takes to win and being the asshole bully that we all want to see out of him. I believe it was a missed opportunity. The only thing I fault Owens in this is not fighting backstage, not literally fighting, but fighting with his character backstage and creative and trying and protecting himself as a heel. Now we come to my thoughts on the main event at ROADBLOCK. Still, I would have Reigns go over Owens at ROADBLOCK. I think that this is the best setup for the upcoming WrestleMania. But I would protect Owens as a major heel. Start the match, I would go back and forth with these guys, just that they're trying to fill each other out. I would have Reigns look like he is this unstoppable beast. Through a heel tactic, I would have Owens get a little bit of an upper hand. Then I would have Reigns come back. I'd have him go for the Superman punch or the spear, and I would have the referee go down. I would have Owens go to the outside, Reigns to follow, and the two of them to fight the two of them to fight, them ending up on the ringside padding railing. Owens attempts a spear. Owens steps and Reigns goes down. And the referee is still down at this point. Now, Owens recently, as we probably have all seen in the YouTube, that he's gotten a little bit of heat by criticizing a kid wearing a Roman Reigns shirt. As it's on YouTube, you can check it out. So, you know what, if I was a WWE, I would utilize this, not necessarily having that kid, but that parent, but I would have a parent and kid, WWE employee kid. I'd have them at ringside right there where Owens sidestepped the spear from Reigns and Reigns is laying there. I would have a kid holding a Reigns sign. I would have Owens look at this sign and you know what? He gets offended. He gets mad. He grabs the sign and he rips it up. He hands it back to the kid. Of course, the parent and the kid reaction. Owens would get great heat for this, I feel. Then he would take throw Reigns back to the ring. He would look dominant, and then he'd set Reigns up, and he'd hit the pop-up power bomb. The referee is starting to recover at this time. He goes for 1, 2, 2.5. Reigns kicks out. Owens goes ballistic. Can't believe it. How could this happen? Then he goes and he tries to set Reigns up again for another pop-up powerbomb, but instead this time Reigns hits a spear. 1, 2, 3, we have a new Universal Champion. And Reigns does something out of character, something that he should do. He goes to ringside. He's seen this kid. He's seen him crying. He gets this kid, takes him to the ring, the center of the ring, and there you have Reigns with this kid on his shoulder, holding up the Universal Champion. How can the crowd not cheer? Reigns goes over like he never has gone over. He is the superhero, and that is how I would book the main event for the pay-per-view Roadblock coming up. Now I want to talk about Matt Hardy's total non-stop deletion. Now this was really a crazy, chaotic event, but it was so entertaining. It was not traditional wrestling. It had elements of traditional wrestling, but it had that Hardy flair in the program. It was very entertaining. I term this was entertaining chaos. I recommend everyone to go and to check out Total Nonstop Deletion on YouTube. The Hardys are just masters. What they have going on right now is making TNA. It makes TNA watchable. I do watch TNA some. Probably will start watching it more after this. I enjoyed the Hardys bringing back familiar faces of wrestling past. We had ODB, which was great. We had their beginning. We had a backstage of Disco Inferno. Hilarious. I love the Disco Inferno. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. It's crazy. We had the Rock and Roll Express, which was great. I mean, they can still go. They're old, but they can still go. We had Hornswoggle, which had a moment with Decay, which is another tag team from TNA, and we had appearance of animal of Legion of Doom. The tag team, one of the matches, the main match of the evening was Lashley versus Eddie Edwards for the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. You know what? This was a hell of a match. I know that people say that they don't like Lashley. I like Lashley. Lashley he's great. They have built him good. I wish that they have built him a lot better, I believe, than they have Roman Reigns on WWE. Lashley is the real deal. He is actually an MMA fighter, and he looks the part. Eddie Edwards, not really at first. I really wasn't into Eddie Edwards, but he's sort of growing on me. That he is this underdog type character, and it was a great match. They had a crowd there that they had brought in, and about 50 people, and they were actually interacting with the crowd. I thought that was great. Anything that provides more entertainment like this, I like. They had, and for all we know, and the most hilarious thing about this is that there was no conclusion to the match. Lashley speared Eddie Edwards through the building that they were in, speared him outside, and they began to fight. And then they started the tag team Apocalypto. And all this time, Lashley and Eddie Edwards were going. I wish they showed a little bit more clips of Eddie Edwards and Lashley fighting. I wished at the end of this tag team Apocalypto that we still saw that they were as the Hardys, and the Hardys won tag team Apocalypto. That Eddie Edwards and Lashley were still fighting in the distance. That would have been so great. But tag team Apocalypto, overall, it was amazing. We had DK. DK looked great. They're a good group as the whole as the yin and yang of the Hardys and DK. They're a great group. They had interactions. They actually had a little bit of acting and made it more of a storyline program like you would watch on television, sort of like Lucha Underground. I'm not really a fan of Lucha Underground. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I don't like the intergender mixing of the story that goes there. More traditional. I think that the men need to wrestle with the men, and the women need to wrestle with the women. They both can be strong, and they both have prominent places in the wrestling industry. Sometimes I believe, just like with Charlotte and Sasha Banks, I think that the women at times outshine the men. Now they are on equal level with the men, but I believe they need their own division, and they don't need to be wrestling men. Not unless you're China, not unless the great China, may God rest her soul. I don't really feel that they need to intergender mix there. But there was elements of sort of the betrayal of the portrayal of Crazy Steve, member of DK. He killed off a character. Then his tag team partner Abyss supposedly bashed a guy's head in with a stone. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. Like I said, overall, it was an amazing show. I highly recommend it. I hope we're looking for more stuff with the Hardys. Even though I would like to see some interaction between the Hardys and different tag teams like the Wyatts and the New Day. and other tag teams, even American Alpha, or these tag teams that are in the WWE. I would hate for the Hardys to lose their creative freedom that they have in TNA. I would like to see TNA and to develop. I would like to, number one, I would like to see it rebranded, not called TNA, because that has a negative connotation. Just call it Impact Wrestling. I would like to see them go onto some house shows around the country, grow the brand. It's always good to have more wrestling that's out there, so that there's more places for wrestlers to work. I love pro wrestling. Is passion and love that I have in my life. I am the guru. I am the shaman to the masses, and plan to take this character that I have and further develop it, and as a means of generating positivity in a negative world. And I think that the unifying force out there is professional wrestling. I don't think professional wrestling is going to die anytime soon. I believe professional wrestling is growing. There's too much going on in independent scenes. Will wrestling ever reach the heights that it did during Hulkamania, during the Attitude Era? I do not know, but I think that it does have the potential to do that. I don't think that there'll ever be another per se competitor to the WWE as the WCW was during the Attitude Era. But I think that there needs to be viable alternatives other than the WWE, whether it is TNA, whether it is WCPW. The guys at What Culture are doing great things in the UK. Shout out to them. Or whether it is New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is if it wasn't for the language barrier, New Japan would probably be WWE's major competitor in the world. There is, and so TNA, I would like to see the Hardys stay at TNA, simply for the fact that I would like to see the brand survive, so that wrestlers have a place to work. They have a place that they don't have to go to the to WWE to be a star. Everybody wants to go to WrestleMania and be in WrestleMania, but nobody wants to have to work for 15 years on the road like that is required with the WWE. So this is my thoughts. This is some of my thoughts, even on my own persona as the shaman of all that is good and love in the world today in professional wrestling. I hope that each of you has enjoyed this program. Hope it was better than the last one. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters, my disciples, you can look and read there where to follow me on Twitter, where to follow me on, where you can email me, buy the t-shirts. Let's get this cause going, and let's be the greatness of one.